Happy New Year and welcome back to Crypto Clarified. 2025 is going to be a busy year in the DeFi ecosystem. We're also watching a convergence of a number of technologies at the same time, which has got very interesting dynamics. The good news, though, is today you're with us, and so is Camila Russo, founder of The Defiant, defiant.com. Check it out. She's also the author of The Infinite Machine, History of Ethereum. You can find that book at wherever your fine book purveyors are. But welcome back. Here we go, Crypto Clarified, the podcast where we help you navigate the complex and fast-moving digital asset space. My name is Benjamin Dean. I am Director of Strategy for Digital Assets at Wisdom Tree. US listeners, wisdomtreeprime.com. You can find it on the Apple or Android app stores. Hit subscribe and share. Sharing is caring. For this podcast, we try to disseminate quality information so people can navigate this space. And, the more you share, the more you subscribe, the stronger it gets. You can find me on X, the Bird app, at Benjamin Dean. Before we begin, I have to do the disclaimer. To clarify, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of Wisdom Tree and The Defiant and are subject to change. Anything we present in this podcast is not intended to be relied upon as a forecast, research, nor as investment or tax advice. The information and opinions expressed in this podcast, not a recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any securities and reliance upon them, is at the sole discretion of listener. Please remember, past performance is no indication of future results. All right, let's cut to Cami. Cami's back. Hey, Cami. Happy New Year.
Hi, Ben. Happy New Year. Great to be back.
I hope you had a restful time of the holiday break and you're ready for what should be a very busy 2025 in DeFi land. There's many things we can talk about today, but I kind of look to you to give kind of a high-level set of topics, and then we can unpack them for the listeners' sake sequentially.
Sure. So I think the most interesting topics, in my opinion, right now in the crypto and DeFi are AI and AI agents and their related tokens. Still meme coins, and with meme coins, that's Solana is kind of the main venue for that. And then the different challenges Ethereum is facing.
Okay. Well, we're going to have lots to talk about then, because the first one is actually quite interesting. AI agents. Now, for years, people have been pointing at like these two technology trends. One is blockchains, distributed networks. Second is artificial intelligence. I think the listeners know that I was trained by artificial intelligence researchers from the 1980s, right? And what's going on there is kind of automation of certain tasks in a way that didn't happen before. Now, if you, just for the listener's sake, AI agents, what is it, and how does it involve an intersection between the two technology trends?
Yeah, so AI agents in general, like not related to crypto, are tools trained by artificial intelligence to perform different tasks for humans. When you couple that with crypto, there's usually a token involved, and so far AI agents have been issuing tokens or recommending trades. They are behind Twitter profiles and just constantly tweeting. They are imagining meme coins, and communities are going ahead and issuing those meme coins, and they're gaining hundreds of millions of market caps in minutes. So they come in different forms, still pretty rudimentary. Like so far, AI agents in crypto are kind of chatbots with meme coins interacting in some way, and they're like different examples, different kind of models for this to happen.
It reminds me of something that Julian said probably 12 years ago. He said in the future, so 20 to 30 years down the line, basically corporations are going to interact with one another through these automated agents. And they're going to do economic transfers between one another in a way that right now is quite manual. So, all right, you can probably explain to me, why would they need to create coins when they could just be interacting with one another using Ether, for instance? It could be Solana or whatever. But why is that happening? Who's doing it, and why are they doing it?
So they're just issuing coins because it's fun and people are speculating with them. Like there's no actual use case for the coins. And that's kind of the like
Okay.
I'll give you like maybe using an example of the very first case of this happening with Truth Terminal.
Mm-hmm.
So Truth
Yes.
Terminal, yeah, it's like a Twitter profile that
Yep.
was trained uh, by a programmer.
And
But then
Claude is the backing of Truth Terminal.
yeah,
Claude
but then
engine.
it took a life of its own, right?
Yeah.
And it was trained, but then it got trained on like being a troll on crypto Twitter. And so it just like was like constantly posting, and the like you go to his feed or their feed or whatever, and the posts are spot on. They're like, he's a very good crypto Twitter troll, so he's just like making memes, making jokes about the market, like interacting with the community. But anyway, so like his followers, like the AI's followers, saw that he had spun up this whole token plan, and one of the like followers went and issued the goat token. And the thing is just, I don't know, like let me see what the market cap is, but it's insane. Like
It's all very cyberpunk in a way. Like once you've got, while you're looking it up, I'm gonna
yeah.
riff a bit. Like, all right, so we're gonna have the automated agents, and they're able to use distributed networks in order to issue meme coins, right?
Okay,
If we
so
take,
sorry. So it's right now it's at almost 500 million market cap. This token that's doesn't have any. It's just a meme coin imagined by this AI, and it got as high as 1.25 billion in November, and now it's down to 500 million. So these things are just flying.
now this is going to be the segue into the next part about meme coins, but it's all very silly, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
as you say, it has really no economic utility, yet it exists. However, if you take the concepts and you transpose them onto productive economic activity, it does actually start to look like a world in which you've got these distributed databases. It could be Ethereum, it could be Solana, it could be whatever. Uh, and if it actually is channeled into productive economic activity, then we start to see an increasingly automated, globalized economy running on distributed databases. But for the moment, GOAT peaking over 1 billion US dollars in equivalent value, although the liquidity is probably not there. Let's talk a little bit about that. And listeners, I know you're probably not here to hear about meme coins, which is fine. However, in the world, things happen. And there is something going on. And I've debated this. The last episode, we had David Duong on from Coinbase, their head of institutional research. And he and I have debated meme coins, good or bad thing. Cami, you're very close to the matter. You track all of this. Why are all these meme coins being created? What are they being listed on? And do you have a view as to whether it's just a silly thing like surrealist art, which I love, or is it kind of one of these things that's a complete waste of time and a waste of resources? I'm not trying to load the question. I'm just interested in your views.
So it's a tough question. I think for me, the fact that meme coins exist is just proof that blockchains are doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is providing permissionless access to financial instruments to anyone, and allowing this sort of like creative expression on chain, which
Hmm.
that's what meme coins are to me. Like, people are taking whatever joke they think is funny or whatever trend they think will catch on, and issuing tokens on that, and others are buying those tokens because they feel like they are in on that joke, or they want to belong to that community, or they want to signal something, um, and obviously because they think it'll go up and then they'll make money. um, but it's all part of this culture of being online and being in on the joke, and seeing Elon Musk tweet something, and a second later there's going to be a degen that makes a meme coin out of that tweet. And it's just like, it's very funny. Like, if you're watching this stream of, like, if you're on uh, I don't know, Dex Guru or Pump Fund, where Pump Fund is the Solana platform that allows kind of a no code way to issue tokens. Like, we at the Defiant, we issued a token for, like, to test for like, when we just started covering Pump Fund, when it was just out last year. We said, like, our reporter said, let's see actually how easy it is to issue a coin. And we did it for the story, and it literally took 2 minutes. So
Wow.
anyone can make a token. And then, if it gains enough liquidity, then it kind of graduates from the Pump Fund platform into Radium, which is the Solana DEX. And
Right.
that's where it can, like, really, be set free and pick up or crash. Obviously 99% of these tokens crash. Um,
Yeah.
but it's kind of this, the freedom of creating something, and interacting with others around it. And there are communities that are getting formed. So when somebody issues a token, they will also create a Telegram chat where buyers of the token will flock to, and they will communicate there and send memes and try to make the coin go up. Um, so it's not like, it's not like someone is in a vacuum putting out a coin into the world. Like, there are actual communities and interactions happening around these markets, and I think that's what's fun for people trading these things. And sometimes they take a life of their own, like the the best example of this is Doge, the original meme coin. That's
Hmm.
one of the top 10, or I don't know, up there in market cap. And it sometimes they do gain enough traction and community, and just like, people want to hold these things because, again, they want to feel part of whatever that joke or trend is.
This is one of the things that's just going to give lawyers an absolute nightmare.
Mhm.
Uh, Yet it's happening. Now, the strongest case I've had, so I appreciate your point. Okay, community, fine. If people are free to do that if they wish. It's a permissionless network they're able to interact on. No one's being coerced into it.
Mhm.
At the same time, it's not very productive economic activity at all. The strongest case I've heard for it is, well, if people want to use the Solana network to do this kind of stuff, they have to pay with the Solana cryptocurrency, which increases demand for it. And they pay fees that goes into development of the network, and the network keeps going forward. That's the strongest case I've heard for such silly stuff, straight out of Monty Python. Um, do you have, aside from the community point, and we don't have to dwell on this much more, it's just, it's happening, so you've got to kind of acknowledge reality, right? So, all right, we don't have to dwell on this point too much because I really want to hear about your thoughts about how the Ethereum ecosystem is evolving. But nobody complains about going to watch a movie, right?
Mhm.
It's a movie, fictional entertainment. Nobody complains about that. And if indeed people are just having fun, no one's being coerced, and they're paying fees that lead into development of network, and perhaps down the line it does end up creating productive, facilitating productive economic activity, but that doesn't happen down the line if nobody develops the software. So I can see how there's two sides to it. But let's not dwell on it anymore, though I
Mhm.
really appreciate your points there. It's somewhat thought provoking. It's almost like entertainment meets distributed databases
Yeah.
and then also meets AI. And it's, it didn't used to be that way.
Mhm.
Anyway, let's move on to your third point, and that's around the Ethereum ecosystem and what's going on there. Now, we've had someone on from Base at Coinbase last year, and um, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, this layer two phenomenon and the fragmentation of the ecosystem, the changing of the way in which fees are paid, which we can unpack for the listeners for Ethereum. Um, but your views are much more useful than mine. So I look to you to kind of give your synopsis or your, bird's eye view of what's going on with that ecosystem, because you're the author of the Infinite Machine.
Well, thank you for that. But no, I mean, it's I think it's really interesting what's happened in the Ethereum ecosystem last year. So last year, I think, was the time when Ethereum finally proved that it was able to scale with its layer two centric roadmap. So Ethereum had this shift where initially it was supposed to enable sharding, which is, these like mini layer one chains stemming from the Ethereum layer one. It scrapped that and then it said, no, we're going to have a layer two centric scaling roadmap, which meant that uh, all of the scaling would happen on these layer two networks uh, that are mostly rollups, optimistic rollups or CK rollups, that are, two different types of, cryptography to validate transactions. And then all of these transactions happen in a different network, which allows transactions to have a higher throughput and be much cheaper. And then these things roll them up and then confirm them to the main Ethereum chain, so they retain Ethereum security. So that's kind of how these layer twos work. And last year was when all of these layer twos, or like many of them, became, went live and were actually useful. So Optimism and the super chain, which is like all the different optimism based chains, Arbitrum, um, and then different like CK Sync and like other like CK roll ups are also kind of in the mix. Base from Coinbase really took off as well.
Mhm.
That's optimism based. But anyways, we saw like this whole like explosion of layer twos happen, and a lot of activity went to layer twos. So they were really successful in that way because they proved that they were able to effectively deliver a great user experience for people looking to, buy NFTs, buy meme coins, like we were saying, use Aave, put, their stable coins to work, like all this stuff that people used to do in Ethereum, they started doing in Ethereum L2s. So that was great, but then that brought on a different set of problems, which was that if you are transacting on one layer two, that's fine. But usually what happens is that you will need to move between chains, between different layer twos, and back to the Ethereum mainnet. So a very close first-hand example for me is that at the Defiant, we get some of our our sponsors pay in stablecoins.
Okay.
And so we started getting requests from sponsors to pay in stable coins on different layer twos.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, we have our USDC on Polygon, or we have our USDC on Base, or even like somebody paid, well, I guess like Solana is a different issue, but so we got paid with stable coins on different Ethereum layer twos.
Okay.
And and then I quickly shut that down because like the headache of having to consolidate all those stable coins back in like Ethereum mainnet to send to Coinbase, to send to our bank to actually make like dollar like fiat payments was just, I don't know, it took hours because for each chain you have to have the gas token of the chain. So for example, like we got like, okay, USDC on Polygon, but to transfer that USDC on Polygon back to Ethereum, you have to also have the Polygon token because you have to pay transactions on Polygon with Pol. But then I didn't have that because I just like got USDC. And then so I was like forced to buy Polygon and send to the Polygon chain and pay the transaction with Polygon and then send the USDC using a bridge, which I had to like make like Google and see like which bridges are good between Polygon and Ethereum, and that same process for each different chain. Just a huge headache. Just like having the gas token, paying the transaction fee, bridging, like praying to God that the money doesn't get stolen in the middle of the bridge. It's just no. And then like you compare to like the experience in just like TradFi, which like you make it doesn't matter kind of where the money comes from. You just get the money in your account, or you make like a if it's like within the US, you make a sell or whatever, like like it's or a Venmo payment or a sell payment, or and so like when I was doing this, it just like dawned on me, this is just like unacceptable UX. Like I'm in this thing all day, and I'm having trouble doing it. Like it's there's no way Ethereum is going to onboard mainstream users with this kind of experience on their layer 2. And so that's a new challenge. The layer 2 ecosystem is extremely fragmented. It's very hard to transact across layer 2s. I think many people in the Ethereum community became a little bit delusional, being like, no, like the L2 UX is fine. People don't need to, like, if they're on base, they will only stay on base. And that's, I think it's just like covering the sun with a finger, because like if you're already on chain, you're gonna see an NFT that's on whatever somewhere else, on Optimism, and you're on base, you're gonna want to easily move between chains. Or like go back to Ethereum mainnet. It's not like you're gonna stay on like one specific use case. And you like, if you're in Ethereum, you wouldn't want people to do that. Like you want them to be able to move seamlessly across the ecosystem. So the challenge now is how to unify Ethereum. And when I at DEF CON, that was like a big, like war cry, like let's unify Ethereum. And I think like there's a lot of work being done around that, like account abstraction um, and I don't know, different ways to make things easier. Even AI is a part of it. Like maybe you have an interface that uses AI to make those transactions for you, and you don't have to kind of do all like go through all the hassle. So I mean, there are different solutions that are being worked on. Like I think the Ethereum community more and more realize that this is not an acceptable place. So, but you know, the solution is not here right now. Like Ethereum is
Mhm.
still not unified. So I think that'll be, you know, a big narrative in the coming months. Like how can the Ethereum experience become more seamless when all of this activity is happening across so many different chains?
All right. This is interesting. um, so what we're talking about is an evolving ecosystem. There's no central command, right? So anyone can do whatever they want. It kind of evolves sequentially. You end up maybe with winner-take-all dynamics, network effects, Metcalfe's law. Now, let's use it's technology history time, listeners. And as Cami knows, and all the listeners know, I love technology history. Um, let's use an analogy for what's going on. Credit cards. Now, Cami, I'm not going to bore you with the history of credit cards too much. However, credit cards start with a Diners Club, and I won't bore you too much. However, if we use a similar kind of idea, it's like when I turn up in France, where I was the other week, and I want to pay with my American Express card. Sorry, we don't take that. Oh, but you will take Visa. Yes. Now, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and then you can list them all off until you've got the ones that are kind of WorldPay is based out of China, right? The People's Republic of China. Now, that's a similar kind of dynamic, which is you've got these competing networks for payments or for other economic activity. And it's fragmented. Eventually, it consolidates around a few big players. That's network effects, right? That's why Visa and MasterCard, two of the, well, Visa is the biggest financial services company in the world by revenues and maybe not profits, but certainly revenues. Anyway, so what we're watching is instead of it being run by companies, well, in some cases they're foundations, we're watching the same dynamic play out. It's just with different technology. And because there's no central command, you get these competing interests. And yeah, I really take your point that it's frustrating in that it's so fragmented, but surely that frustration will end up being channeled into everybody converging on the same network or the same couple of networks. Maybe it could end up being kind of like everyone goes on Facebook and then everybody goes on Instagram, then everybody goes on TikTok, right? And they all end up converging in this place. Anyway, I'm talking too much as always.
Yeah.
No,
No. I think
Go
that's
ahead,
right. I think
please.
we'll. Yeah. No. I think we'll see that consolidation and see a handful of layer twos emerge as the most used. But even so, I think you need better kind of bridging technology or whatever it is that ends up being, you know, the mechanism by which people move between chains. I think that's, you know, still the question what that will be.
I really like your point that it could be automated. I mean, that's quite an interesting business opportunity in a way. Anybody who can automate that process, because you can't force open source stuff to like all converge, right? The market can do that, but anybody who can find a way to automate that and remove that pain point probably has a business on their hands. Anyway, we are on time though. However, as you know, we finish these episodes by thinking about the future. Now, you and I have done it already this whole episode, but I'd invite you for any like thoughts you've got about what you think beyond that, which you've already said, and you've already shared so many interesting thoughts. Anything else on your mind before we call it a day?
I mean, something that's on my mind that's again very close to what I do is this new category in crypto called information finance,
Uh-huh.
which is, maybe the only project right now in that space is Polymarket, which it really broke out last year with elections.
Great.
And then Vitalik actually coined this term information markets, and how, Polymarket was an example, but there can be different use cases of information coming on chain. And so, that's something I'm looking at and thinking about, especially in the case for journalism. Like, how can DeFi, crypto, blockchains help improve the very broken media business model? So
Okay.
that's kind of what's on my mind right now.
Excellent. Last episode with David, I brought up prediction markets, and I agree. That's really interesting. Polymarket runs on Polygon, listeners. So it runs on distributed database. It's a way in which people can pull resources and information to predict outcomes in the future. Now, Robin, what's Robin's surname? He's been on about this for about 30 years. Listeners, I'll find it for you and put it in the notes. But Robin has been saying that these prediction markets would happen, and it has happened. They're more reliable than the polls. And it goes back to Hayek. Hayek said that the price mechanism is a way to transfer information in an economy. And so don't screw with the price mechanism, right? But what you're talking about is very, very close to that. I agree. That's really interesting. Maybe next time we'll do a more deeper discussion of it. But we are at time, Cami, as much as you and I could talk for hours. But you'll be back soon, I know.
Yep.
In the meantime, it's always nice to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great.
All right. Take care. See you soon.
See you.
Well, there you have it. Camila Russo, founder at The Defiant and author of The Infinite Machine, The History of Ethereum. US listeners, wisdomtreeprime.com. You can find it on the Apple or Android app stores. You can also find me on X. I'm there too much. You know I'm on that too much. But you can find me on X at Benjamin Dean. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I look forward to having you again for the next episode.